Yeah, my father was a cement finisher, and my mother was considered the help. She was a maid. When I was born, my father brought his bundle of joy and 4 children to live on Roy Street, which was a short shotgun house that's currently still there on Roy Street. Actually, he was the cement finisher that finished the arch over the Highway 90, the arch that simulated the Arch of St. Louis. Well, there used to be an arch and a breezeway across there, and where the actual red light was in the middle of that arch had to be finished. And my father was hoisted there and had to sit in a swing and finish that.
And on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, you could not drive a car down on Main Street. There'd be so many people out there in the street. People was enjoying themselves back in that time.
Shop right there across the street from the Blue Note, and the Blue Note was across the street, and then my dad had a restaurant there as well.
A number of successful businesses, mind you, and of course we had the a couple of white business owners who survived off of our black dollars, which brought me to the thought of at the corner of Nixon and Division Street. I had the grocery store there in 1961. He was one of the whites that were down on the beach that were beating the black wait-in group, if you will, and had an audacity to come back to the store, to open the store up, and to think that we would actually
come back and
come and buy in the store. But anyway, he would close down.
What was existing then was by statute, by ordinance. Caucasians and African Americans were governed by colored water fountains and white water fountains. They too were governed by that. If a white guy went into a colored environment, that somehow or another he would not also be breaking the law. He would. Not that he'd want to do that, however. But the point is that they were participating by sitting on the front of the bus. The oldest city in Mississippi is Biloxi. Right now, what was back of town, which was across the track, is now the heart of town. It was deemed that this area has more historical properties than literally any other area. That is, of course, Katrina kind of changed that, but it didn't change it nearly as much for back of town. But those old houses now hold great significance in the annals of history.
A white airman and a black airman came to the Greyhound bus station. They could not get the same taxi to the base. It was a no-no. See, segregation was pretty rough around here. It was pretty rough. And I remember they had that march down on the beach. The buses would have a shade on the side of the window. When you went out there, you couldn't see out on the beach.
Well, they did have we had restrooms, but we'd have to go in the back to use the back door instead of coming in the front door.
Feel like you had a whole lot of eyes on you. But I wasn't gonna mess with nothing nohow. And then they would bait you when you come to the post office. You might come there and you might see a $5 bill laying on the floor over here. Especially when you first come in, 2 clerks, the bottom clerks is just like the private in the Army. You work on Sunday to unload a transfer truck coming from Jackson with the mail on them. And so they base you, see, can you stand to work around money? When I would see the money, I let it sit there until it grow a whisker. I wouldn't touch nothing.
My mom used to always say that they forbade them to join the NAACP.
Yeah, they would lost their jobs.
They would have lost their jobs.
Here I am, 6 years old, riding my bicycle, and couldn't stop, and I ended up going across Division Street into a rope that had no trespassing, had a no trespassing sign on it that was roped around the office of Dr. Mason that was bombed the night or two before. That was in and around the time that Dr. Mason led the wait-in. And again, as a very young scamp, I remember quite clear that morning that it kind of all came together. It was early morning, and I can hear my mom and my dad in the 2-bedroom house. My mom saying to my father, you know, why you have to go? Why you have to go?
I would put our education up against anybody's because all the people that graduated from Nichols, I think they can stand toe to toe with anybody anywhere.
The nuns would walk the streets on Saturday and Sunday, and if you did not do your homework right, they would walk. You see them long dresses turning down Quaver Street where I was born at. And if you know you didn't do your work right, they're gonna come and tell your mother.
The only thing that we think about now is how we were treated in terms of the revenue school district. They were very, very segregated. But other than that, I mean, we were, I guess it was the early 60s before we got a gym. We used to play outside, you know, on asphalt, basketball and stuff of that nature.